For centuries, the Vatican has looked to the heavens and seen more than stars. They've spoken in riddles, of brothers in creation, of life beyond Adam, of lights that move against the laws of heaven, of faith rewritten by what watches back. Some say the Church made contact long ago. That revelation was never lost, only buried beneath marble and prayer. So before you dismiss this as myth, ask yourself, what happens when the eye of faith meets the infinite? When heaven looks down and remembers? Tonight, we return to Castel Gandolfo, the Pope's quiet refuge above the sleeping lake. The stars shimmer like secrets waiting to be confessed. You hear it before you see it. A low mechanical hum, the sound of a telescope aligning with eternity. A Jesuit priest waits within, hands steady, breath trembling. He isn't watching the stars. He's listening to them, and what they've begun to whisper will change the Church forever. Welcome to the Vatican's hidden sky. For decades, the Vatican's astronomers have spoken in riddles. They talk of brothers in creation, of life beyond Adam. Some say they have seen lights move against the laws of physics, crossing skies no human should see. Others claim the Church has known the truth for centuries, that contact was made long ago, and faith has been rewriting itself ever since. So before you dismiss this as fiction, ask yourself, what happens when belief meets the unknown? When the eyes of heaven look back? You stand at the gates of Castel Gandolfo, a quiet palace overlooking the dark mirror of Lake Albano. The night is cool, filled with the soft hum of crickets and the faint pulse of machines buried in marble. Above you rises the Vatican Observatory, domes of brass and glass glimmering under the stars. You hear it before you see it, the low whir of a telescope aligning itself with the sky. Inside, a Jesuit astronomer adjusts a lens older than memory. His hands move like a priest preparing a ritual. You realize the Church, for all its hymns and relics, has never stopped watching the heavens. For centuries, popes have sent scholars to chart the stars, to read what Scripture could not explain. You walk through corridors lined with portraits, priests, mathematicians, philosophers, all gazing upward. On a desk lies a note written in a delicate hand. The universe is not silent. We are not alone. It is signed by Father José Gabriel Funes, former director of the Observatory. The Vatican never denied his words. It simply absorbed them. You feel it now, the tension between faith and discovery, between God and cosmos, between creation and creators. Outside, the telescope tilts once more, capturing light from a distant system. The stars reflect in your eyes like questions that have waited too long for answers. And somewhere in the darkness above Italy, something moves. Intelligent, deliberate, unseen. The story begins. Night settles over the Alban hills like a slow breath. You walk the narrow path toward Castel Gandolfo, the Vatican's quiet exile from the noise of Rome. The air here tastes of stone and pine, of water rising from the lake far below. And above it all, on the highest terrace, the observatory waits, its domes gleaming faintly, like eyes half open in sleep. You expected silence. Instead, you hear a hum, low, mechanical, patient. The sound of a telescope turning its gaze. Somewhere inside, a motor stirs, aligning mirrors with the pulse of distant stars. You pause at the gate, uncertain whether you're intruding on a laboratory or a chapel. The door yields without touch. You step into shadow. Inside, the walls are lined with portraits. Priests in black robes, their hands resting on astrolabes and scrolls. Their eyes follow you with that calm intensity shared by saints and scientists alike. Beneath each name, a date. Beneath each date, a silence. You walk deeper. The air cools, dry and metallic. You pass rooms filled with brass instruments that look more like relics than tools. Sextants, compasses, glass spheres that once captured fragments of the sun. At the end of the corridor stands a door marked Specola Vaticana. Beyond it, light. The dome opens like a living thing. Panels of iron part with a groan, revealing a sky so black it seems carved from stone. Stars burn sharp as candle flames. The great telescope stands in the center. A cylinder of white and gold, taller than a man, older than most nations. A Jesuit priest adjusts the lens. His robes rustle softly as he moves. You do not speak, yet he seems to sense you. He turns, eyes reflecting starlight. "You're late," he says gently. "The heavens have already begun their shift." He gestures toward the eyepiece. You hesitate. "Go on," he whispers. "See for yourself." You lean forward. The world narrows to a single point of glass. At first you see what you expect. The great scatter of constellations. The patient shimmer of galaxies that will outlive every empire. But then something changes. A pulse, a flicker. A movement that is not a star. It darts across the lens. A streak of light that curves, halts, reverses. You blink, but it remains, tracing deliberate shapes against the void. 3 flashes. Pause. 2 more. A rhythm, too precise to be random. You step back. The priest watches you without surprise. You saw it. What was that? He studies the sky. We don't know. We have given it many names. Some call it an angel, others a visitor. The Vatican prefers the word phenomenon. He turns to you. But you didn't come for explanations. You came for proof. You try to answer, but the words falter. Because something inside you recognizes the pattern, not as message, but as memory. The pulse feels familiar, like a heartbeat echoed from another time. The priest closes the dome. The stars vanish behind steel. "Do you know," he says softly, "that this place was built not for science, but for silence?" You frown. When the church began charting the heavens, it feared what it might find, so it sent those who asked too much to watch the sky. Far from Rome, far from questions. We were told to look, but not to see. He smiles faintly. But the sky does not obey doctrine. He walks to a cabinet and draws out an old leather folder. Inside, photographs, grainy, black and white. Circles of light against endless dark. Some blurred, some clear. In one, a formation of orbs hangs above St. Peter's Basilica. "These were taken in 1954, he says, "the night before the Pope's illness." You stare. Why are they hidden? Because the church survives on rhythm. Faith rising and falling like tides. Disruption breaks the pattern. And what you saw tonight is disruption. He closes the folder. "You will not speak of this outside these walls. Not yet." His tone is gentle, but final. You leave the observatory just before dawn. The sky is pale, the lake silver. Behind you, the dome closes again, sealing its secrets. But as you walk down the slope, you feel it. A vibration in the air, faint but persistent. Somewhere up there, something watched you back, and the hum in your chest will not stop. The next night you return. You tell yourself it's curiosity, not belief. The guard at the gate nods as if expecting you. Inside, the corridors seem different, longer, quieter, as though the building itself has turned slightly in its sleep. You find the priest in the library, surrounded by open books. The shelves reach the ceiling, packed with volumes bound in black and red. On the table before him lies a journal, its pages filled with careful Latin script. He looks up. "You should not have come." "I can't stop thinking about what I saw." He sighs, then gestures for you to sit. "Then you must understand what this place truly is." He opens the journal. The ink has faded to sepia. "This belonged to Father Angelo Secchi, the first director of the Vatican Observatory. He wrote that he once witnessed lights move across the moon, geometric, deliberate, as if guided by intelligence. When he reported it, the Vatican ordered him to erase the record, but he didn't. He hid it here. He slides the book toward you. The handwriting is small but steady. You read aloud. They moved in formation, 6 in number, crossing the mare like living stars. I heard no sound, yet I felt a presence, vast and calm, as though the heavens themselves were observing in return. You look up. The priest nods. He was silenced within a year. Do you believe him? He closes his eyes. I've seen the same pattern, the same formation. He stands and walks to the window. Outside, the night stretches black and endless. The Vatican's astronomy is not for vanity. It is preparation. They've known for centuries that something waits out there, something older than humanity, older than faith itself. You ask how he can be sure. He smiles sadly. Because I spoke with it. The air stills. He does not blink. I was stationed in Arizona then, he says, at the new telescope on Mount Graham. We called it the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope. It was meant to be modern, pure science. But one night, the instruments recorded a signal, a tone that repeated every 7.3 seconds. It wasn't radio noise. It was harmonic, structured. He walks back to the table, rummages through a drawer, and pulls out a small metal disc. I kept a copy. He places it on an old player. The sound that fills the room is faint at first, a pulse, low and rhythmic. Then a second tone joins it, weaving through like a voice learning to speak. It continued for hours, he whispers. We thought it was interference. But when we ran the pattern through translation algorithms, it produced a phrase in perfect Latin, non sumus soli. You whisper, we are not alone. He nods. The church ordered the data destroyed, but by then, copies had already spread among us, quietly, secretly. The tone deepens. Something in it makes your chest tighten, like a memory half remembered. The priest lowers the volume. There's more. When we replayed the signal under different frequencies, another layer appeared, a map. He points to the ceiling, where a faint pattern of light flickers across the beams. 6 dots forming a curve. The same shape Father Secchi drew 100 years earlier. You stare upward. The pattern hums, pulsing in rhythm with your heart. He speaks softly. We believe they've been here long before us. They are the first witnesses of creation, what Scripture calls the morning stars. The Vatican fears them because they rewrite the origin of faith. If life began everywhere, then we are not chosen. We are shared. You sit in silence. The air feels heavier now, charged. He continues, almost whispering. The Pope knows. So do the Jesuits who guard this observatory. We are told to observe, to record, and then to forget. But some of us can't. He opens another envelope. Photographs again, but newer. A streak of light curving above the Arizona desert. A glow reflected in the telescope's mirror. And in one frame, faint but clear, a figure of light, tall, thin, standing on the edge of the dome. They appear when the alignment fails, he says, when the bells in Rome toll out of sequence, when the rhythm breaks. You remember the hum in your chest, the pulse that hasn't stopped since last night. What do they want? You ask. He smiles, without warmth. They want remembrance. The stars remember everything. They remember what the church buried. They remember the first sound that shaped the world. The tone on the recorder fades into silence. You realize the library feels colder. The priest closes the journal and whispers, when they return, they won't come as conquerors. They will come as witnesses. And the Vatican will have no language to greet them. He hands you the disc. Keep it. If you hear the tone again, don't pray. Listen. Outside, the dawn begins to bleed through the horizon. The observatory glows pale against the sky, its dome still, its windows dark. But as you leave, you feel that same vibration again. Soft, steady, alive. You look back once. A light flashes across the dome. 3 pulses. Pause. 2 more. The same rhythm. The same signal. Somewhere between heaven and stone, the Church of Earth has begun listening again, and the stars are answering. The Vatican before dawn is not quiet. It breathes. You feel it when you cross St. Peter's Square, a low vibration beneath the marble, a heartbeat under centuries of faith. The basilica looms above you, its domes black against the blue of unformed morning. From somewhere behind those walls, a bell tolls once, the sound slow and deliberate. It feels less like a call to prayer, more like a warning. You pass through the narrow corridors that lead toward the papal apartments, though tonight they are empty. The Pope has left Rome for Castel Gandolfo, as he often does when the skies turn restless. The reason given to the public is rest. But the priests who serve near him whisper another explanation. The telescope has been opened again. The Pope's telescope, as it is called by those who dare to speak of it, is no ordinary instrument. You've read about it in half-erased letters, hidden between lines of theology. Built in the 19th century, its mirrors were blessed with holy water before assembly. They said each lens was ground by monks who fasted during its making, their breath never touching the glass, their prayers woven into the curvature of its frame. When you reach the observatory terrace, the air is heavy with incense. A group of Jesuits stand around the dome in silence, their faces turned toward the east. The oldest among them, Father Matteo, motions for you to follow. He opens a door that leads to a narrow staircase spiraling upward. He's waiting, he murmurs. At the top, you find the Pope not in papal white, but in simple black robes. He stands before the telescope, its gold fittings catching the first breath of dawn. His back is to you, his hands clasped. "You've come far," he says, not turning. His voice is softer than you expected. Old, patient, touched with fatigue. He gestures toward the instrument. "Do you know why we keep it?" You hesitate. "To study the heavens." The Pope smiles, though it's not joy that moves his lips. "That's the official reason. But we have been watching something more specific, something that watches us in return." He steps aside. "Look." You press your eye to the lens. The night sky unfolds, a field of stars trembling in the infinite dark. You adjust the focus. There, beyond the familiar constellations, a faint shimmer. It moves, slow, graceful, circular. A structure of light so vast it feels alive. "It isn't a star," the Pope says behind you. "It's a pattern, a wheel of radiance that reappears every 50 years in the same sector. It began when Galileo's telescope was blessed by the Church, the same week the Inquisition condemned him. You pull away from the eyepiece, shaken. What is it? He looks toward the rising sun. We don't know, but each time it appears, something happens in the world below. Revolutions, plagues, awakenings. The Church calls it the turning. He walks to a small chest near the wall, unlocking it with an iron key. Inside are bundles of parchment tied with silk thread. "These are records of every time the wheel has been seen," he says, "and every pope who has known of it. Some feared it, some worshipped it, all kept it secret." He hands you one sheet. The handwriting is meticulous. A light encircling the firmament, brighter than moon, silent as prayer. The air trembles when it passes. The people dream of stars for 3 nights after. Dated 1633, the year Galileo was forced to recant. The Pope continues, his tone distant. "The Church was never at war with science. It was at war with memory. Galileo saw the pattern through his lenses and understood that heaven moved by its own law, not by decree. That terrified them, not because it disproved faith, but because it revealed something older, a design that included us, but did not center us. You notice the faint tremor in his hand as he adjusts the telescope. Every pope since then has been taught to observe the turning. It's part of the oath of custody, the same one sworn by those who guard the archives. We watch, we record, we do not speak. He turns to you fully now. His eyes are pale blue, tired but alive with intensity. But I believe silence no longer protects. The stars are speaking again, and they no longer care who listens. Outside, the first light of dawn strikes the dome, bathing it in gold. The Pope lowers his gaze, whispering a verse that sounds like both prayer and surrender. When heaven moves, earth trembles. When the stars align, the keys will fall. He places a small notebook into your hand, black leather, worn thin. This contains the coordinates of the next turning. It will occur within the year. Do not tell anyone, but be there when the sky opens. Before you can answer, the bells begin to toll, slow, out of rhythm. The Pope stiffens. Too early, he mutters. The bells are never wrong. The telescope shifts on its own. The gears grind. The lens tilts toward the east, though no one touches it. Through the dome's slit, a beam of light cuts across the room, striking the cross on the wall. The Pope makes the sign of the cross, but his voice trembles. It's begun sooner than we thought. You turn to him, but he is already descending the stairs, whispering something in Latin that sounds like an apology to the sky. When you leave the dome, the city below is bathed in a strange glow. Not gold, not white, something between. The air vibrates faintly, like a string being plucked somewhere deep beneath the earth. The Pope's words echo in your mind. When heaven moves, earth trembles. The telescope above you hums once more, its mirrors reflecting a light that has no source. You realize the dome is no longer watching the stars. It's watching Rome. And whatever it seeks, it has already found. The Vatican's archives smell of wax and dust, like 1,000 candles burned in secrecy. You move through the corridors with a borrowed key, guided by faint memories of maps you were never meant to see. The priest who gave them to you vanished 3 days ago. His room was found empty, his telescope shattered. The archivist on duty greets you with the weary politeness of someone accustomed to lies. You tell him you've come to see the Annales Caelorum, the celestial records. He nods slowly, leading you past marble busts of forgotten popes into a chamber lit only by a single lamp. You have 2 hours, he says, then locks the door behind you. The shelves tower high, packed with scrolls bound in red ribbon. You pull one free. The parchment crackles as you unroll it. Latin, Greek, numbers that look like star coordinates. But it's the margins that stop you. Notes written in a trembling hand. Lights over Rome, winter of 1891. Moved in arcs. Witnessed by astronomers and priests alike. Ordered sealed by papal decree. You find more like it. Entries scattered across centuries. A wheel of fire above the Tiber. A trumpet sound from the sky that made the marble shake. A white sphere descending over St. Peter's dome. No sound, no shadow. Each event followed by the same Latin phrase, ob mutuit coelum. The heavens fell silent. You turn a final page and find something new. A diagram of the stars above Rome on the night of January 4th, 1891. In the center, a faint spiral drawn in silver ink. At its edges, a handwritten line. When heaven moves, time bends. You lean closer, tracing the spiral with your finger. The ink glows faintly, as if alive. The air thickens. The lamp flickers. The room shifts. For an instant, you are standing not in a library but beneath an open sky. Rome lies below, streets dark, the Tiber a ribbon of black glass. Above you, The heavens ripple. A vast pattern of light unfurls, not random, but geometric. Circles within circles, spinning slow and soundless. You hear whispers, thousands of voices overlapping in languages both ancient and unknown. One rises above the rest. Be still. The alignment returns. Then a sound, deep, resonant, like the toll of a bell inside your bones. The stars move. You feel it rather than see it. The constellations shifting as if the entire sky were turning on an invisible hinge. The city below glows white, then fades. You blink. The archive returns. The lamp steadies. But the spiral on the parchment now pulses with light. Your hands shake. The door unlocks behind you. The archivist returns, pale and sweating. "Did you see it?" he asks. You nod slowly. He glances around, then closes the door again. It's happening again. The same pattern, the same light over the Tiber. The bells are out of sequence. You whisper, "The turning?" He nods. Yes, it was recorded before, in 1891, in 1633, even earlier. The sky moves and history fractures. Every time, something changes in the church. Documents vanish, names are rewritten, miracles occur, and disasters follow. He moves closer. There's one record you haven't seen. From his sleeve, he draws a thin scroll wrapped in black thread. "I shouldn't have this," he says. "But if what the Pope told you is true, you'll need to know what came before." He hands it to you. The seal bears a single symbol, the spiral again. Inside, the writing is not Latin, not any human script. The letters curve and interlock like music turned into form. At the bottom, one translation line: "The stars remember the first command, move, and all shall awaken." You ask where it came from. He hesitates. It was found inside the telescope itself after the last turning. The mirrors began to hum. When they cooled, the scroll lay at the base. He looks toward the locked door. We were warned never to open it again. But we have no choice now. The sequence has begun. Outside, thunder rolls. Though the sky was clear a moment ago, you feel the ground quiver. The shelves groan as if the archives themselves were alive. Dust falls from the ceiling in delicate spirals. The archivist grips your arm. When heaven moves, time bends. You must remember that. What you saw in the past may not stay there. The lamp bursts. Darkness. When light returns, the room is empty. The scroll is gone. The door swings open. Beyond it, the corridor no longer leads to the Vatican. It opens onto the dome at Castel Gandolfo. The telescope gleams a mid-teen, pointed at a sky that swirls like a living sea. The same sound rises again, that deep, impossible bell. The stars shift before your eyes. Heaven is moving, and the world below will not be the same when it stops. You arrive at the Vatican Observatory after midnight, the lake below like a mirror that refuses to reflect. The air is too still. Even the insects seem to hold their breath. You hear the faint chime of distant bells, not the rhythm of prayer, but a discord, as if the city itself is out of tune. Inside, you find the same Jesuit priest from before. He stands before the great telescope, though tonight he is not observing. He is writing. His desk is scattered with notes, open books, and a half-empty cup of coffee gone cold. He looks up and smiles faintly. You came back. Good. It's time you saw the other side of this. You sit. His voice lowers to a whisper. You know of Father José Gabriel Funes? You nod. The Vatican astronomer who once said, "The extraterrestrial is our brother in creation." The priest continues. When he said that, it wasn't theory, it was confession. He opens a folder and spreads several photographs across the table. Each shows a section of the sky, faint points of light connected by thin red markings. These were taken from the Arizona telescope in 2009, he says. We detected movement across a quadrant where no planetary body should exist. A sequence of patterns, not orbits, not drift. Communication. You study the markings. The dots form spirals, repetitions, rhythm. He continues. We converted the frequency of their emission into sound. What we heard was harmony, not noise, not static. Harmony. He plays a recording. The air fills with a tone, soft, layered, like a choir of metal and wind. For a moment you forget to breathe. There is something human in it, something sorrowful. It's been playing for centuries, he says. Always the same tone, the same interval. It's as if they're waiting for an answer. You look up, and you think it's alive. He hesitates. Alive is a human word. What they are is conscious, intelligent, older than life as we know it. The church doesn't deny this anymore. It's just silent about it. But Father Funes couldn't stay silent. He believed they were part of God's creation. Not fallen, not angels, but kin. The same spark, in a different form. He turns to the window. He said once that to deny them would be to deny the infinite creativity of God, and for that, he was recalled to Rome. You remember his interviews, calm, philosophical, too cautious to sound dangerous, but beneath his words now you sense something hidden, a signal disguised as theology. The priest moves to a cabinet and retrieves an envelope sealed with wax. These are his final notes. He sent them to a colleague just before he disappeared. You unfold the paper. The handwriting is steady, measured. If they are our brothers, then creation is not singular. Genesis is continuous. The garden is not one, but many. And if so, then salvation must be infinite too. A chill passes through you. The priest nods, reading your expression. Imagine what that means for doctrine. If every world has its own Eden, its own Christ, its own fall, what becomes of faith? What becomes of sin? You picture it. Galaxies filled with parallel prayers, alien hands reaching for the same unseen light. You whisper, then humanity isn't chosen. He smiles sadly. No, humanity is shared. The telescope hums softly. Outside, clouds drift like slow smoke across the stars. You hear a faint rumble, distant thunder, though the night is clear. The priest speaks again, his tone quieter now. There's one more thing. The sound we recorded, the harmony, it's not just random frequency. When mapped to numerical values, it matches the structure of human DNA. You stare at him. That's impossible, he shrugs. So is faith, and yet here we are. The wind stirs, lifting the papers from the desk. You catch one before it falls. A diagram, circular and symmetrical. The heading reads, Project Adam Kadmon, Codex Stellarum. What is this? He folds the paper away quickly. A study, a forbidden one. It suggests that life on Earth, our life, was not a divine accident, but a continuation, the same signature replicated across stars. The Church cannot admit this. It would mean creation isn't a miracle. It's a pattern. The dome creaks overhead. The telescope adjusts by itself, realigning toward the west. The priest moves to stop it, but freezes mid-step. The scope emits a low tone, the same one from the recording. It fills the room, vibrating through the walls. You both watch as the telescope projects faint light against the floor, a beam forming shapes, symbols, circles. It's them, he whispers. You kneel closer. The symbols shift, geometric, rhythmic. Then a phrase appears, faint but legible, formed of light and dust. Fratres in creatione. Brothers in creation. The priest's breath catches. It's a response. You stand in silence, the hum still echoing in your bones. Outside, the clouds scatter. The stars burn brighter. The telescope falls still again. The priest crosses himself slowly. They heard him, he murmurs. They heard Funes. You feel something like awe or dread. In that moment, the world feels very small and heaven impossibly large. You leave before dawn. The air smells of ozone and ash. The lake reflects the last of the stars, trembling as if stirred by invisible hands. Behind you, the dome closes, but you know the sky is still watching, listening, waiting for its brother to answer. The next morning, Rome wakes restless. You hear it in the streets. Murmurs of strange lights seen over the Tiber, whispers of a tremor that shook the city though no earthquake was recorded. You walk past the crowds, unseen, carrying a letter with the Vatican seal. Inside, one line written by the same Jesuit: "Find speculum caeli, the mirror of heaven." The words lead you to the library of the Apostolic Archives, a fortress of silence and marble. Inside, the air smells like time left too long in a box. A librarian escorts you through corridors lined with shelves taller than cathedrals. You stop before a section marked Archivum Obscurum. He hesitates, unlocking the gate with shaking hands. "You'll find what you seek in the restricted case," he says. "But be careful, that book should not exist." You step into the vault. Light spills through stained glass windows, painting the dust in soft blues and golds. You find it on the highest shelf, a manuscript bound in black leather, edges scorched as though rescued from fire. The title, pressed in faded silver, Speculum Caeli. You place it on the table. The first pages are in Latin, prayers and star charts, the work of a 17th century Jesuit astronomer named Cardinal Lucenti. But halfway through, the handwriting changes, sharper, alien, as if carved rather than written. You trace the letters. The ink shimmers like oil. The text shifts beneath your gaze, rearranging itself. Words appear where there were none before. We are the reflection. The divine does not descend, it remembers. You turn the page. An illustration, a circle divided into 3 layers. The first, Earth. The second, stars. The third, something beyond. A field of light filled with spirals and mirrored eyes. Beneath it, the caption: "The watchers do not fall, they return." Your pulse quickens. You flip to the final section, a confession written by Lucenti himself. His words tremble across the parchment. "They showed me the mirror. I saw our faces in the sky, and their faces in us. I was told that man is not the image of God, but the echo of another world." You hear footsteps behind you. The librarian returns, pale. You read too much. You close the book slowly. Who censored it? He glances toward the ceiling. The Congregation of Doctrine, the same who silenced Copernicus, Bruno, Funes. They hide what contradicts Genesis. They fear the question more than the answer. You open the book again. One more line glows faintly between the ink. If you wish to see the Creator, look upward. If you wish to see his reflection, look inward. The room grows darker. The windows dim. The manuscript hums softly beneath your hands. The librarian steps back, terrified. "It's reacting again," he whispers. "Last time, it burned through the floor." You feel warmth under your fingers. Not heat, but vibration, alive and rhythmic. The ink rises from the page, forming symbols of light that drift upward. They merge into a single mirror-shaped form, hovering before you, its surface liquid and calm. You see your reflection. Then, behind it, another face, elongated, luminous, watching. You cannot tell if it's human. The librarian drops to his knees. "Close it," he begs. But the mirror pulses once, and the room dissolves. You are no longer in the library. You stand beneath an endless sky. Stars above, stars below, as though you are inside the reflection itself. A voice, neither male nor female, fills the silence. "You are not the first to read." The mirror remembers. You ask what it is. A record of all that looks back. "We are the memory of creation. We wrote the scripture you call Genesis, not in words, but in light." You reach out, your hand trembling. The mirror ripples under your touch. Images flash. Deserts, oceans, cathedrals, telescopes, all mirrored, infinite. The voice continues. Faith is not belief, it is recognition. The church feared this truth, for it makes gods of witnesses. The stars blink once, and the voice fades. You are back in the vault. The mirror is gone. The book lies closed, smoke curling from its edges. The librarian is gone too. Only his rosary remains on the floor, its beads still warm. You pick up the manuscript, its cover now cold as stone. The title has changed. It now reads simply, Liber Memoriam, the Book of Memory. As you leave, the Vatican bells begin to toll, again out of rhythm. The same vibration passes through the floor, through your body, through the air itself. You glance at the sky through a narrow window. A faint shimmer crosses the clouds, a reflection without a source. The heavens, it seems, are remembering too. You arrive at Castel Gandolfo on a grey morning. The lake lies still, veiled in mist, its surface like breath caught between worlds. But something feels wrong. The familiar domes of the Vatican Observatory, once glimmering brass eyes that watched the heavens, are gone. Only the stone base remains, a circle of cracked marble open to the sky. The guard at the gate does not meet your gaze. His voice trembles when he speaks. It was dismantled. Orders from Rome. When? He shakes his head. It didn't happen all at once. The equipment was moved over months. By the end, there was nothing left but the foundation. They said it was being rebuilt in Arizona, but he hesitates. No trucks ever left the grounds. You glance at the horizon. No cranes, no scaffolds, no crates. Only emptiness, as if the dome had evaporated. The air hums faintly. You kneel, pressing your palm to the stone floor. It's warm, too warm for morning. You feel a pulse beneath the marble, soft and steady, like something alive buried deep beneath the earth. The guard shifts uneasily. They told us not to stand too long near it. The dogs won't go close. Sometimes at night there's light, faint blue, like a heartbeat. You look toward the small chapel nearby. Its doors are sealed with wax and rope. Across the threshold, words in Latin carved roughly into the wood. Non intrare nisi per fidem. Enter not, except through faith. You step closer. The air thickens, heavy with the scent of iron and ozone. The silence feels artificial, like sound itself has been drained away. Behind you, a voice speaks. You shouldn't be here. It's Father Matteo, the old Jesuit astronomer. His face is drawn, his eyes hollow. The observatory is gone, you say. He nods slowly. No, it was moved. Not in the way you think. He gestures for you to follow. You walk through the gardens to a hidden stairway, descending into the earth. Dust falls from the ceiling as you move. The air grows colder, the smell of stone and oil thick around you. At the end of the tunnel, a metal door stands half open. Beyond it, darkness and faint mechanical breathing. The observatory didn't vanish, Matteo says. It was inverted. He switches on a small lamp. The light reveals a chamber that mirrors the one above, a perfect replica carved into the bedrock beneath the hill, and in its center stands the telescope. But it's wrong. Its surface blackened, its frame pulsing faintly, as if made not of metal but of some living material. This, he says softly, is where the true Spicola was moved, the one that watches not the heavens, but the world below. You step forward. The telescope hums in recognition. A low, deep tone fills the chamber. Symbols flicker across its surface, lines of light, circles, spirals. You realize they're the same patterns you saw in the mirror of heaven. It's alive, you whisper. Responsive, Matteo corrects. It reflects what watches it. When the dome above was sealed, the device turned inward. It began mapping something beneath the surface. A network of lights, not stars, not magma, something else. He opens a folder on a nearby desk. Inside are printouts, grids of glowing veins winding through the continents. We thought they were anomalies in the magnetic field, he says, but the pattern repeats, the same geometry as the constellations, as above, so below. You stare at the map. The lines converge beneath the Mediterranean, beneath Rome itself. What does it mean? He hesitates. It means the heavens were never above us. They were inside us, buried in the earth, waiting to awaken. The telescope emits another pulse, louder this time. Dust falls from the ceiling. The walls tremble. Matteo grips the railing. It happens every night at the same hour. We think it's receiving something, a transmission from the old dome, wherever it went. You move closer to the lens. For a moment, it reflects your face. Then the reflection shifts. Your features stretch, dissolve, replaced by a shape of light. Two eyes, like orbs of glass, a thin outline of something not human, yet eerily familiar. Who built this? You ask. He exhales slowly. No one knows. The oldest records of the Vatican speak of an artifact given to the Church by a nameless order during the Renaissance, a gift from men who read the sky before Christ. They said it could hear the stars. The hum deepens. The air shivers. You hear faint whispers, 1,000 overlapping voices speaking in rhythm, not language, but resonance. The telescope glows brighter. Matteo clutches his rosary. They told us to dismantle it. We couldn't. It wouldn't allow it. What do you mean? When the workmen tried to remove its base, they said the floor became transparent. They saw the same stars beneath their feet, and when they looked away, the dome above was gone. The sound grows louder. The walls shake. You step back as the telescope tilts upward on its own. Through the aperture, you glimpse the faint outline of a sky, not black, but deep violet, filled with slow-turning light. Matteo falls to his knees. It's opening. You watch as the machine releases a thin beam that pierces the stone ceiling, rising through the ground toward the heavens. The pulse syncs with your heartbeat. For a moment, everything around you vibrates. Marble, air, thought, as though the world itself were remembering its original shape. Then silence. The beam vanishes. The telescope dims. Matteo rises slowly, trembling. Now you understand, he says. The observatory didn't disappear. It ascended. It left its shadow behind, this copy, to keep watching, to remind the church what it once promised never to see. You climb the stairs together. The sky above is clear again, but the air smells faintly of ozone. You look back once at the empty circle where the dome once stood. The stone is warm. The pulse continues. The stars above flicker. Once, twice, like a signal returned. And for the first time, you feel certain that heaven moves not in distance, but in direction. Downward. The Arizona desert is nothing like Rome. It breathes heat by day and silence by night. The wind moves like a whisper across the rocks, carrying the sound of nothing. And yet, when you reach Mount Graham, you feel watched. The Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope rises from the red dust like an altar. Its white dome glows faintly under the stars. a sentinel among the pines. Local legends call it the Eye of God. The scientists who work here call it VAT, but the locals prefer another name, the Lucifer Scope. You step inside. The temperature drops instantly. The air hums with machinery, low and rhythmic, like breathing through metal lungs. A Jesuit astronomer meets you. Father Corbin, tall, thin, eyes too calm. You must be the observer from Rome, he says. We were told someone would come. He leads you through corridors filled with cables and screens. On one wall, a digital map shows thousands of stars, each marked with coded tags. You notice one blinking red. Corbin follows your gaze. That's the one, he says quietly. It moved again last night. What is it? He hesitates. We don't know. It appears in the same region every few years. Always emits the same sequence. 3 pulses, then 2. The same rhythm recorded at Castel Gandolfo decades ago. You remember that pattern, the same message, the same echo. He opens a logbook. Every time it appears, the telescope's systems malfunction. Instruments shut down, clocks lose time. And when we play back the data, there's something in the static. A tone. He plays the recording. You hear it, faint, rising, layered with harmonics that shouldn't exist. It sounds like breath. The technicians call it interference, Corbin says. But one of our visiting scientists, an astrophysicist from Germany, translated the pulse intervals into letters. The result was a single word. Lux. Light. He turns toward the massive telescope at the center of the chamber. We think it's aware of us. You approach the console. The main screen flickers. Images of constellations rearranging themselves, shifting like living organisms. In one frame, they form the shape of an eye. The locals fear this place, Corbin says. They say it hums when no one is inside, that the ground beneath it glows faintly before storms. Some call it cursed, but that word is too human. The truth is simpler. It's listening. You ask, listening to what? He lowers his voice. To something beneath the mountain. He takes you outside, into the thin air. The moon is high, washing the desert in silver. He points to the slope below. The Apache believe this mountain is sacred, a ladder between worlds. When we built the observatory here, their elders protested. They said we were drilling into the place where heaven touches earth. He looks up at the dome. They were right. A faint vibration passes through the ground. The stars seem to tremble. You feel it in your bones, the same pulse you felt in Rome. Corbin leads you to a small hatch in the side of the dome. There's something you should see, he says. You descend a ladder into a chamber beneath the main floor. The walls are rough stone, damp and ancient. At the center lies a circular plate of black metal, carved with spirals identical to those in the Speculum Caeli. This was here before the observatory was built, Corbin whispers. They said it was part of the foundation, but when we tried to remove it, the drills failed. The metal isn't from Earth. NASA examined a sample once. It didn't match anything in their registry. The plate hums faintly. You kneel, brushing dust from its surface. Symbols flare to life. Lines of blue light forming constellations. The same ones you saw beneath Castel Gandolfo. Corbin stares, entranced. Do you hear it? The air fills with that familiar tone, low, harmonic, like a choir buried beneath the mountain. The cymbals pulse in rhythm with your heartbeat. They call this the Lucifer device, Corbin says. But the word Lucifer means bringer of light. That's what it's doing. It's bringing something through. The hum grows stronger. The lights brighten. Dust swirls into the air. You see, for an instant, images reflected in the metal. Cities of glass, oceans of color, beings of light walking through them. Corbin steps back, eyes wide. It's not showing the sky, he says. It's showing memory. The metal plate glows white. The sound becomes unbearable. Not loud, but infinite. Then silence. The light fades. The plate goes dark. You both stand trembling. Corbin whispers. Every time it activates, the same signal is recorded by satellites. The Vatican archives it under Lux 47. They say it's natural, but nothing natural repeats so perfectly. You touch the plate one last time. It feels warm, alive. You whisper the word you saw. Lux. The surface ripples faintly, like water stirred by wind. Above, the telescope hums once more. The dome rotates on its own, aligning with a section of sky unseen by any other observatory. A single star flares, brilliant, sudden, then vanishes. Corbin exhales slowly. They're answering. You both climb back into the cold night. The wind has stopped. The desert is silent. You look up at the heavens, at the dark void where the star had been. For a moment, you swear you see a reflection. The same spiral of light you saw in Rome, turning slowly across the sky. The telescope continues to hum, a heartbeat between worlds. And in that rhythm, faint but clear, you hear the echo of an ancient name, Lux Domini, the light of the Lord. But the light, you realize, no longer belongs to heaven. It has found a new home beneath the mountain, waiting to rise. Night drapes itself across the Alban Hills like a velvet curtain, soft and endless. You stand on the balcony of what was once the papal retreat, overlooking the lake that mirrors the stars. It should be peaceful here. It never is. The wind moves strangely tonight, too steady, too deliberate. The surface of the water ripples though the air is still. Somewhere behind you, the bells of the small chapel ring, not in rhythm, but in fragments. As if the air itself has forgotten time. Then light. It begins as a glimmer over the far ridge, pale at first, like moonlight, then brighter, then many, 5 points, arranged in a curve hovering just above the lake's horizon. They do not flicker, they pulse. Someone beside you, a caretaker perhaps, gasps. They've returned, you whisper. Who? He makes the sign of the cross. The messengers. You reach for your camera, but the device dies in your hand. Every phone, every watch, every instrument on the terrace fades to black. Even the air feels drained of electricity. Only the lights remain, silent and patient. Then one moves, slowly at first. Then with impossible speed, it darts upward, curves and stops. The others follow, forming patterns against the sky. Spirals, circles, a geometry too deliberate to be random. They always come when the bells falter, the caretaker murmurs. The priests used to say it was the Virgin's sign, but those of us who watched closely knew she was not what they thought she was. The words chill you more than the wind. You remember the priest's warning. The observatory did not look only upward. The lights descend closer. You can see them now, not as stars, but as shapes of radiance, crystalline, fluid, almost alive. Each one hums with a faint tone that resonates in your chest. The sound is not heard but felt, like memory vibrating through bone. Suddenly, the air splits. A beam of white bursts downward, touching the lake's surface. The water ripples outward, glowing from beneath. For a heartbeat, the entire basin becomes a mirror of light, a perfect circle. And within that circle, a reflection appears that is not your world. You see a sky made of liquid glass, towers of stone that float, suspended, figures, tall, thin, translucent, standing at its edge, gazing upward as though looking back at you. The caretaker falls to his knees. Holy Mother of God! You whisper, it's not heaven. The reflection shifts. One of the figures raises its hand. a gesture both greeting and command. The lights above the lake respond instantly, aligning into a cross. The tone deepens. You hear voices layered within it, Latin words blurred into rhythm. You catch fragments: lux, dominum, fratris, light, Lord, brothers. Then the water rises, not waves, but a single sheet of light lifting into the air, shimmering like a veil. The reflection merges with the sky, and for an instant, both worlds overlap. The stars above you are the same as those below, and in that symmetry, something awakens. A deep, rolling vibration moves through the ground, like the breath of a sleeping god. The walls of the papal palace tremble. The crosses on the chapel glint faintly red. The caretaker grips your arm. "They did this once before," he says, voice trembling. "In 1891, the old priest saw it too. After that, the Pope grew ill, and the observatory was sealed." "What are they?" you ask. He shakes his head. "Not angels, not demons. Witnesses." The word lingers. You look again at the lights. They begin to rise, one by one, until only the largest remains. It hovers above the dome of the chapel. The air bends around it, light warping like heat. For a moment you glimpse its core, a sphere of gold with symbols etched across its surface. The same symbols you saw in the Speculum Caeli. The sphere pulses 3 times, then it vanishes. Everything goes still. The lake returns to black. The stars above steady themselves, innocent again. The air tastes of metal and rain. When the power returns, the caretaker stands slowly, eyes glassy. "They took something." You check your camera again. The lens is cracked, though you never touched it. The battery glows faintly, warm as flesh. You look back toward the lake. There, in the reflection of the moon, something lingers. Faint lines glowing beneath the surface, forming the same pattern you saw on the telescope floor. The geometry of the turning. You whisper to yourself, "They're mapping us." The caretaker doesn't answer. He stares at the sky, muttering prayers too old for translation. You know better. They weren't prayers. They were coordinates. You feel a pulse in your temple, 3 beats, then 2. The same rhythm again, the same calling. Somewhere beneath the lake, something ancient has stirred. And this time, it is looking upward. You wake in a small room inside the papal palace, though you don't remember falling asleep. A crucifix hangs above your bed, tilted slightly to the left. The morning sun filters through heavy curtains, casting long bars of gold across the floor. There is a knock at the door. A man enters, tall, dressed in cardinal red. His age is indeterminate, his face ageless in that way that comes only from lives lived under secrecy. He closes the door softly. "I am Cardinal Benedetto," he says. "You were seen at the lake last night." You say nothing. He studies you with calm precision. "You should not have witnessed that. It changes a person." He sits, the robes folding around him like blood and shadow. "You've been speaking with the Jesuits," he continues. "With Matteo, with Funes, with the others. They think they serve knowledge. They don't realize they serve memory." You ask him what he means. He folds his hands. The Vatican was never built to contain faith. It was built to contain remembrance. Every ritual, every mass, every chant is a way to maintain a rhythm. The same rhythm that keeps the sky in place. When it falters, the veil thins. What you saw last night was that veil tearing. You try to speak, but he continues, his tone calm, almost tender. "We have always known they were there. The first priests did not pray to God as you understand him. They prayed to the witnesses, the architects who shaped the heavens and seeded the earth. The early church absorbed their memory, turned them into angels, saints, and demons. But the truth was never erased, only translated." He rises and walks toward the window. "You've seen their lights. You've heard their tone. You felt the hum beneath the observatory. That hum is their heartbeat, and Rome has lived upon it for 2,000 years. You feel your throat tighten. Why hide it? He smiles faintly. Because faith cannot survive revelation. Faith depends on absence, on distance. If the sky answers back, belief becomes obedience, and obedience leads to despair. He turns. I was there when the last pope heard the signal. He wept, not in fear, in recognition. He said, they were never gone, only silent, waiting for us to listen again. He died that night. The bells rang out of sequence. We sealed the archives. He walks to a small cabinet and retrieves a silver disc. It looks like a communion wafer, but etched with spirals of gold. This is the Lux record, the original transmission received by the Mount Graham telescope. We kept it secret. We told the scientists it was static, but it isn't. It's a message. He places the disc on the table. It repeats one phrase, endlessly. He presses a button. The room fills with sound, low, layered, like the murmur of 1,000 prayers spoken in unison. Beneath it, a faint voice emerges, mechanical, yet tender. Ego sum lumen omnium. You whisper the translation. I am the light of all things. He nods. It speaks with the tone of creation itself. Every 49 years, the same message returns, amplified by the turning. Each time, the world changes. Revolutions, revelations. Collapses. When heaven moves, history shifts. You ask, then the church has known this for centuries? He sighs. We've always known. The earliest popes called them the silent choir. Others called them the Watchers of Eden. Their symbol, the spiral cross, is hidden in plain sight, carved into basilicas, painted in frescoes. You've seen it, though you didn't notice. He opens his hand. A small pendant gleams there, a cross coiled around a spiral. The Vatican wears its secret openly. We hide nothing because no one ever looks. You whisper, what happens now? He looks toward the sky. The turning approaches again. The signals are increasing. The lights return to Gandolfo. The observatory hums beneath its shell, and Mount Graham sings at night. It means the veil is thinning. Soon, even Rome will hear them. You ask him what they want. He steps close. They don't want. They remember. Creation was never a single act. It was a continuum. They move through time like breath, reawakening what we forgot. They come not to destroy faith, but to restore it. The faith before doctrine. The room trembles slightly. Dust falls from the ceiling. The sound of bells fills the air. Again out of rhythm. He glances upward. They're already here. The crucifix on the wall vibrates. The air hums. The sunlight flickers. He whispers, when the bells lose their pattern, the gate opens. It always begins here. Outside, a flash. Brilliant. Soundless. The curtains glow red. You rush to the window. Above the basilica, a spiral of light turns slowly, descending like a crown. The same pattern from the telescope, from the lake, from the mirrors. The same rhythm. The cardinal kneels. They are the architects of light, he murmurs, and we are their echo. You feel the vibration in your chest again, matching your pulse. The voice from the disc fades into the air, whispering that same phrase. Ego sum lumen omnium. The light outside expands, engulfing the city in silent brilliance. The bells falter one final time, their tones merging into harmony. Then, stillness. When your vision clears, the room is empty. Only the silver disc remains, still spinning faintly. You pick it up. The spiral symbol glows once more before fading into ash. Outside, the spiral above the city dissolves into stars. You realize the cardinal's last words linger in the echo. Faith was never about believing in God. It was about remembering him before he left the sky. And in that echo, the hum continues, the rhythm of the turning, the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. The Vatican Observatory has been closed to the public for months now. Tourists still photograph the domes from the hill below, unaware that no one truly enters anymore. The guards at the gates speak little. The windows stay shuttered even at noon. But inside, beneath the layer of dust and silence, the machines still hum. You move through the empty hall like a ghost returning to its own memory. Every sound echoes. The soft tap of your shoes, the sigh of air vents, the faint electrical pulse beneath the floor. It feels less like a building and more like a body, asleep, dreaming of light. At the far end of the corridor is the map room, sealed for decades. The brass plaque reads, Archivum Caelestis, Heavenly Archive. You press your hand against the door. A faint warmth answers. The lock clicks open. Inside, the air is stale but alive. Shelves line the walls, filled with scrolls and star charts drawn on parchment so old the edges crumble when you breathe too close. Each map is familiar. Orion, Cassiopeia, Virgo, yet subtly wrong. The constellations are skewed, their angles impossible. Stars appear where none should exist. You light a lamp. Its glow spills across a table covered with maps layered like pages of a book. You lift the top one, inked in a trembling hand. Chart of the firmament, year of our Lord, 1531. Below it, a note scrawled in Latin. Stars seen through the veil, not of this firmament. You unroll another. The shapes shift. These are not constellations. They are diagrams. Geometry disguised as sky. Circles within circles. Spirals intersecting lines of gold thread. The handwriting beneath reads, visible only when heaven moves. The hum deepens. From the shadows, a voice. I thought they burned these. You turn. A man steps forward, wearing the black robe of a Jesuit. His hair is white, his eyes bright with the fatigue of too many nights spent awake. You recognize him. Father Matteo, older now, thinner. They tried to destroy the maps, he says, brushing dust from a chart. But they could never burn what was drawn in ink from the heavens. Look. He unrolls one of the larger parchments. The ink shimmers under the lamplight, glinting blue and silver. This, he whispers, is not a chart of our sky. It's a reflection of another. You lean closer. The stars form a spiral, each point connected by faint gold threads. At the center, a symbol like a cross enclosed in a circle. What is this place, you ask? He smiles faintly. A map to where the Watchers first descended. Every 100 years, it aligns with our own constellations. When that happens, the veil thins and they cross over. Your pulse quickens. You're saying they come through the stars? He nods. Not through distance, but resonance. When the heavens move in rhythm with the earth, the gate opens. He points to a smaller chart, a copy of the one labeled 1891. Here, he says, the year the lights appeared over Rome, the turning. See how the spiral aligns with Orion's belt? The same pattern appeared again last month. You study the coordinates. They don't match any known celestial system. These stars, they don't exist. Matteo shakes his head. Not in this sky. These maps were drawn through lenses made from the observatory's original mirror, the one blessed by Pope Gregory XIII. They say the glass was forged from sand that fell during a meteor storm. It doesn't reflect light. It remembers it. He hands you a small telescope tube wrapped in linen. This was hidden with the maps. Try it. You lift it to your eye. The room disappears. You see not the ceiling, not the walls, but a night sky vast and alive, stars swirling like a slow ocean, and among them, faint figures moving, elongated, luminous, tracing paths between constellations. You lower the scope, trembling. They're watching. Matteo nods. They always are. The church used these maps to predict their arrivals. Every turning, a pope would gaze through the mirror and mark where the light bent. Those coordinates were recorded here, the forbidden sky maps. He lowers his voice. But then, one year, they saw something else. He opens a drawer and removes a rolled parchment sealed with red wax. The seal bears the papal insignia. This was drawn in 1633, he says, the year Galileo recanted. He breaks the seal. Inside is a single map, unlike the others. The stars form not a spiral, but an eye. In the center, a black void ringed with gold. Words beneath. The eye of God watches its own reflection. You feel the temperature drop. The lamp flickers. Matteo closes the scroll quickly. That map was forbidden because of what it implied. It showed not a sky above, but a mirror beneath. The stars we see are not the heavens. They're their echo, cast through time. He looks at you with quiet urgency. They were never distant, you see. The stars are the memory of creation, reflected through light. And when we look up, we are not seeing space. We are seeing history, looking back. The hum deepens into vibration. The maps tremble on the table. One by one, the ink begins to glow, faint blue lines pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. The patterns shift, aligning. Matteo whispers, "It's happening again." The stars on the parchment blur, then focus. You see the spiral align perfectly, with a date written in the margin, 2025. You step back. The glow spreads up the walls, tracing invisible constellations on the plaster. The room fills with light, soft and living. From somewhere above, a faint ringing. Bells again, out of rhythm. Matteo grips your arm. They've opened the sky. The last thing you see before the light engulfs you is the central map, the one with the eye. Its pupil dilates, revealing a reflection, your own face, shimmering like starlight. Then, darkness. The Vatican's inner chambers smell of stone and candle smoke. You walk through them like a shadow, unseen, unwanted. The council is meeting tonight in the Sacristia Major, the great sacristy where centuries of decisions have reshaped the world. But tonight's agenda is not political, it is existential. As you approach, you hear voices through the heavy doors. Latin, whispered and uncertain. The air thrums with tension. You slip inside. The chamber is dimly lit. Around a vast table sit cardinals, bishops, and Jesuit scholars. Their faces glow red from the reflected candlelight. At the head of the table stands Cardinal Benedetto, his presence calm, his eyes weary. On the table lies a metal sphere about the size of a heart. Its surface glimmers faintly, engraved with spirals that seem to shift when you look too long. Benedetto raises his hand. "My brothers," he begins, "you have all heard the reports. The lights above Gandolfo, the hum from the mountain, the signal, the one that speaks in our own tongue. We can no longer deny what we have seen." Murmurs ripple through the room. One voice rises. Cardinal Rossetti, fierce and trembling. "This is heresy," he says. "If we admit to life beyond earth, we unravel the foundation of Genesis. There can be no second creation." Another voice counters. "Then why has the Church studied the heavens for 4 centuries? Why do we hold telescopes in our hands while preaching miracles? You cannot worship light and fear what it reveals." Benedetto gestures to the sphere. This was recovered from beneath the observatory. It emits light, not heat, not radiation. Light that reacts to sound. When we chant the creed, it glows. When we recite the Lord's Prayer, it pulses. He steps closer. And when we play the recording from Mount Graham, the signal that speaks ego sum lumen omnium, it opens. He nods to a Jesuit technician. The man presses a button on a small console. The voice fills the room again, low and resonant. The sphere responds, unfurling like a flower. Inside, a liquid core that mirrors everything around it, including the faces of the clergy. Rossetti recoils. Blasphemy! But Benedetto's voice is calm. This, my brothers, is not blasphemy. It is revelation. We are not asked to abandon faith, only to expand it. The light from the sphere intensifies, painting their robes in silver. One by one, the bishops fall silent, transfixed. Benedetto continues, his tone almost prayerful. Father Funes once said the extraterrestrial is our brother in creation. But he was wrong about one thing. They are not merely our brothers. They are our mirror, the same breath of the Creator expressed in another form. He dips his hand into a bowl of water beside him. Holy water, glimmering faintly with the sphere's reflection. Tonight, we baptize the unknown. The words fall like a sentence. He sprinkles the water over the sphere. The room floods with light. The candles extinguish themselves. The air hums. That same tone, deep and harmonious. You watch as their reflections shift in the liquid core. The faces no longer match their bodies. Some look older, some younger, some not human at all. Rossetti shouts over the hum. "You are opening a gate!" Benedetto smiles sadly. It was never closed. The sphere rises from the table, suspended in mid-air. The water in the bowl begins to spin, forming a vortex of light. Latin prayers erupt from every throat, not in defiance, but in awe. The voice from the sphere deepens. Lux est fides. Light is faith. The words echo off the marble walls, vibrating through your chest. Then silence. The sphere falls gently back to the table, dimming to a faint pulse. The bishops stare in stunned quiet. Some cross themselves. Some weep. Benedetto exhales, voice trembling. The first baptism was not of man, but of light. Water only remembers what fell from the stars. He turns to you. Now you understand why we cannot tell the world. They would not see wonder. They would see blasphemy. You whisper, and yet you baptized it. He nods. Because denying it would be the greater sin. You look at the sphere once more. Inside, the liquid stirs, forming a shape, not random, but deliberate. A symbol of two circles intersecting, forming a vesica piscis, the ancient sign of Christ, the union of heaven and earth. The light inside flickers once, then steadies. Benedetto lowers his head. It accepts. The room fills again with silence, the kind that feels alive, breathing, waiting. You realize that something irreversible has happened here. A bridge has been crossed, between faith and cosmos, between human and divine. Outside, thunder rolls, though the sky remains clear. The bells of St. Peter's toll, their rhythm uneven once more. The turning has begun, and this time, the church will not hide from the light. The corridor to the apostolic archives stretches ahead like the inside of a lung, silent, alive, breathing dust and incense. You move through it slowly, your hand brushing the cool marble, feeling the pulse of history beneath the stone. Somewhere deep within these walls, a trial was rewritten, not of a man, but of truth itself. They call it the Galileo Redemption, a reconciliation centuries too late. The church's apology. But what they never told the public was that the ceremony, the one held in 1992, under the light of the Sistine Dome, was not about forgiveness. It was about preparation. You reach the restricted wing marked Congregatio de Inquisition. The door creaks open, revealing a small room lined with manuscripts sealed in wax. A single candle burns on the table, its flame trembling in the still air. Beside it sits a figure in clerical black, an elderly man hunched over a page written in Galileo's own hand. He looks up as you enter. You came for the confession. he says softly. Not his, but ours. You sit. The candlelight flickers across his face, gaunt, illuminated from within. You know what they made him recant, he continues, that the earth moves, that the heavens do not revolve around us. But what they didn't record is what he said afterward, when they thought he'd broken. He slides a parchment toward you. On it, in faded ink, a single line. The earth moves, yes, but so does heaven. You trace the words with your finger. He wrote this. The man nods. We found it hidden inside the spine of his telescope's case, sealed with resin. Galileo had seen something the church wasn't ready to face. Through his lenses, he didn't just see the moons of Jupiter. He saw movement, light that bent, patterns that returned every 50 years. He believed the heavens were alive. You glance at him. Alive? Responsive, he corrects. He said the stars listened, that their positions changed not because of physics, but because of intention. When he spoke certain words aloud, the constellations altered slightly, enough to record. You think of the turning, the rhythmic misalignment of bells, the shifting constellations in the forbidden maps. He found it. The priest smiles sadly. He found the pulse of the universe, and the church silenced him because it proved that God did not command creation from above. He conversed with it. That meant faith was dialogue, not obedience, and dialogue threatens control. He opens another folder. Inside is a photograph, modern, taken through one of the Vatican's telescopes. It shows a faint ring of light spiraling around Earth's orbit, invisible to the naked eye. Galileo drew this shape in his notes, the priest whispers. He called it La Voce del Cielo, the voice of heaven. He believed it was the same pattern that guided the planets, the same rhythm that shaped prayer. He said when man stopped listening, heaven would fall silent. The room trembles faintly. Somewhere above, the bells begin to toll, uneven, dissonant. The priest lowers his voice. The apology in 1992, it wasn't repentance. It was a ritual. The Pope read words written by Jesuits who had decoded Galileo's final diagrams. They believed that by acknowledging his truth, the church could realign itself with the heavens before the next turning. They thought confession would restore harmony. You whisper, did it? He shakes his head. The stars still moved. He reaches into his sleeve and withdraws a silver locket. Inside, a miniature lens, cracked but clear. This was taken from Galileo's telescope. When light passes through it, it bends in ways no glass should. It reveals traces of something beyond sight, symbols written in the stars themselves. He holds it up to the candle flame. The glass refracts the light into shapes that hover in the air. Spirals, circles, and the same Latin phrase you've heard before. Ego sum lumen omnium. You feel the hum again, faint beneath your ribs. Every century, he says, the church hears this whisper, and every time it denies it. Galileo's redemption was not for him, it was for us, to buy time before the next message. The flame wavers. The air thickens, the lens vibrates softly in his hand. Then, silence. He closes the locket, eyes trembling. Heaven moves again. The same pattern, the same rhythm. Galileo heard it through glass. Now we hear it through stone. The bells stop. The sound that replaces them is not human, a low, harmonious vibration, spreading through the walls like breath. The priest clutches the locket to his chest. Forgive us, Lord, he murmurs. We were never watching. We were being watched. The candle extinguishes itself. The room plunges into darkness. You leave the archives, the sound still in your ears. Outside, the sky burns faintly red. Not dawn, but reflection. The earth moves. Heaven answers. And for the first time, you understand that Galileo was not punished for being wrong. He was punished for hearing God too clearly. The message arrives as a folded note slipped under your door. No signature. Only 2 words written in sharp, deliberate ink. Come alone. The address leads you beneath the Vatican through a passage few know exists, the Via Sub Rosa, the Path of the Rose. It was once used by priests to move unseen between chambers of secrecy. Now, it is used for something far older. The corridor narrows into shadow. Electric lamps hum overhead, casting long, thin beams that dissolve into mist. The walls are carved with Latin prayers, not painted, but burned. Each phrase ends the same way. Tacere est servire. To be silent is to serve. You reach a heavy iron door. Beyond it, faint light. You enter. The chamber inside is circular, its ceiling domed like a mirror turned inward. Around the edge stand 12 men and women, Jesuits, cardinals, scholars. None wear their vestments. They are dressed in black, their faces pale in the cold glow of a single lamp. A voice from the center. You were not invited by mistake. Cardinal Benedetto steps forward, his face half hidden in shadow. You have seen too much, he says, and that makes you necessary. You glance around. On the floor is an intricate sigil, a spiral intersected by a cross, the same symbol carved into Mount Graham's foundation. What is this place? You ask. The Chamber of Silence, Benedetto replies. The last defense against revelation. He gestures toward a wooden table at the center. Upon it lies a small device, a glass orb suspended in metal. Inside, mist swirls slowly, reflecting faint points of light. The silence protocol was established in 1891, he says, after the first turning. It exists to ensure that when heaven moves, humanity does not listen too closely. Our duty is containment. He nods to a Jesuit beside him. The man opens a folder, revealing documents stamped with papal seals. Every sighting, every signal, every anomaly, all filtered, rewritten, buried. The Vatican Observatory was not closed for science. It was closed for protection. Protection from what, you ask? Benedetto meets your eyes. From understanding. He lifts the orb. Its mist brightens. This device stores sound, not recorded but absorbed. It captures frequencies that breach the veil between worlds. We call it the confession stone. He places it on the sigil. The light within flickers. When the signal returns, the one that speaks ego sum lumen omnium, this stone amplifies it. Our order gathers here to absorb the sound in silence. We repeat no words, speak no creed. We simply hold it, contain it, so it cannot spread. You whisper, you silence heaven. He nods. We serve God by quieting his echoes. Humanity cannot bear to hear them. Every time they do, civilization fractures. Floods, wars, reformations, all followed a turning. Silence is mercy. The other priests lower their heads. The room vibrates faintly, a soft hum rising through the floor. Benedetto continues. But the hum grows louder each year. We can no longer contain it. The confession stone overheard something new last month. He gestures to a technician. The orb emits a pulse, faint, rhythmic, then a voice. Not mechanical, not human. Non silere, cantare. Do not be silent. Sing. The room stills. Benedetto looks shaken. It's a command. The orb pulses again. The lights dim. One of the Jesuits whispers, "It's responding to us." You feel the air change, dense, electric. The orb lifts from the table, floating mid-air. The mist within spins faster, forming images, faces made of light, countless eyes opening and closing. Benedetto reaches toward it. No! The orb bursts. Light floods the chamber, not blinding but pure, white threaded with gold. Every surface glows, every wall hums. The Latin prayers etched into the stone ignite, their words alive. Tacere est servire. The letters twist, rearrange, until they read, Tacere est perire. To be silent is to perish. Benedetto falls to his knees. They've reversed it. he gasps. They want to be heard. The other Jesuits cover their ears, but the sound isn't sound anymore. It's memory. It plays through your mind like 1,000 voices remembering the same moment of creation. You see stars igniting, oceans rising, humanity taking its first breath. And through it all, a single truth threads through the chaos. Light was never silent. The glow fades. The orb is gone. Only its metal frame remains, blackened. The sigil on the floor pulses once, then stills. Benedetto looks at you with hollow eyes. The silence protocol is broken. We can no longer contain them. He grips your wrist. Listen carefully. When the turning completes, every bell in Rome will ring at once. When that happens, do not run. Do not pray. Just listen. That is all they ever wanted. The others gather the remaining documents, already burning them. The scent of ash fills the air. You leave the chamber in silence. Above, dawn has begun to bloom, pale gold. Trembling, the first bell tolls, faint but clear. You hear its echo multiply, dozens of tones overlapping, not chaotic, rhythmic, deliberate. The world is already singing, and you realize the silence was never protection. It was delay. The voice of heaven has returned, and this time it refuses to whisper. The desert at night feels like the edge of time. You drive along a narrow road that winds upward toward Mount Graham, the headlights catching dust and ghosts of moths. The stars above are too many, too sharp, too bright. They hang like eyes, waiting for recognition. At the top of the hill, the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope stands alone. The great dome is open, tilted toward a patch of sky that glows faintly red. You stop the car and listen. There is no wind, no movement, only the low hum of the telescope breathing. Father Corbin waits by the door, his face pale under the silver wash of starlight. "You heard it too, didn't you?" he asks. You nod. The signal came through the night before, intercepted by multiple observatories around the world, but strongest here. The Arizona transmission. Corbin leads you inside. The walls throb with faint electromagnetic energy, the kind that sets teeth on edge. Screens flicker in the control room, showing graphs, frequencies, and sound waves, too perfect to be natural. He points to one. It began at 0303. Every 3 hours, on the hour, it repeats. You listen to the recording. It starts with static, then evolves, tones layered upon tones, forming a harmony that feels intentional. After 30 seconds, a pattern emerges. 3 long pulses, 1 short, 3 more long. You recognize it. The same rhythm that haunted Castel Gandolfo, the same beat that made the bells lose their order. "It's them," you whisper. Corbin nods. "We cross-reference the signal with known transmissions. It's not radio. It's not cosmic background radiation. The frequency is biological, the same wavelength as a human heartbeat." He turns off the speakers. "But that's not what frightens me." He hands you a printed spectrogram. Within the visual noise, faint curves trace letters. Latin, shaped in light. You squint to read it. "Ad te clamamus, exuls lucis." To thee we cry, exiles of the light. Corbin swallows hard. It's a prayer. You stand in silence. The telescope above you shifts slightly, as if adjusting its gaze. The floor vibrates. Corbin walks to the console. "There's something else," he says. "Every time the signal arrives, the telescope moves by itself, always toward the same coordinates." He pulls up the data. Right ascension, 06H, 23 mm. Declination, 16 degrees. A point near the constellation of Canis Major. You ask, "What's there?" He looks at you. Nothing. The hum deepens. The screens flicker, static blooming like frost. Then, one by one, the cameras shut off. All except one. On its display, a single star pulses against the black. It beats in sync with the recorded transmission. Corbin whispers, "It's responding." The telescope creaks, its motor whining. A beam of invisible light, infrared, shoots upward. For a moment, the air itself bends, and you hear the faint echo of a voice within the static. Not human, not machine, something in between. Lux veniet. The light will come. Corbin backs away. We've heard that phrase before. The same words appeared in Funes's notes before he vanished. The room grows colder. The signal intensifies. You feel it in your chest. The rhythm aligning with your pulse, your body syncing with the hum. Corbin's voice trembles. It's not just a message, it's an invitation. Then the computers shut down. Every screen goes dark. The lights fail. Only the telescope remains alive, glowing faintly. The sound fades to silence. And then, from the dome above, a new noise. A single resonant tone, like a choir breathing one endless note. You climb the metal stairs to the observatory platform. The desert stretches below, infinite and black. The telescope points straight upward now, the stars reflecting in its lens. Corbin follows, clutching a small recorder. "It's still broadcasting," he murmurs. Even with the power gone. You lean over the eyepiece. At first you see nothing. Then, faintly, something emerges. A pattern of light, circular and vast. You realize it's not in the sky, but around it. A field of energy stretching across the horizon. Corbin presses record. "Say what you see." You whisper. "A net of light, woven between the stars, moving." "What direction?" You watch it ripple, shifting like a living thing. "Down." The air crackles. The metal beneath your feet vibrates. The telescope emits a beam of pure white light that pierces the clouds, vanishing into infinity. You hear it then, not with your ears, but with your mind. A voice within the hum, gentle, precise. Advenimus. We have arrived. Corbin drops to his knees. God help us. The light dissipates. The beam fades. Silence returns. The stars above seem unchanged. Yet you feel it. Something has shifted. The rhythm of the world has realigned. Corbin stares at the recorder. It captured everything. The words, the frequencies, even the silence. You ask him what he'll do with it. He looks toward the telescope. "Send it to Rome." He hesitates. "But not to the Vatican, to the observatory beneath it." You understand then. The message was never meant for the world. It was meant for them, the watchers below. Outside, the horizon flickers faintly. For a heartbeat, it glows with lines of light. A mirror of the stars above. The turning has reached the desert, and the heavens, it seems, have finally found their voice. You return to Rome 3 days later. The air feels heavier, as if gravity itself has thickened. The bells no longer ring. The city moves in silence. Inside the Vatican, corridors once bright with gold seem dimmer now, as though the walls absorb light instead of reflecting it. You follow the trail that led you here, from the dome at Gandolfo to the telescope in Arizona. Every place whispers the same rhythm. Every step feels like walking through the pulse of a living machine. You find Cardinal Benedetto in his private study. He sits beside an open atlas, its pages filled with celestial maps. "You've heard the transmission," he says. You nod. He closes the book. Then you understand. The turning is almost complete. He gestures to the ceiling. Painted constellations shimmer faintly, not by candlelight, but by their own inner glow. "The Vatican was built in alignment with the heavens," he says. "But not the heavens you know. There is another sky, invisible, mirrored. We call it Caelum Absconditum, the hidden constellation." He walks to the window. When the church moved its observatories underground, It wasn't to hide knowledge. It was to match this hidden sky, to keep its rhythm aligned with ours. The stones beneath the basilica mirror the stars above, and when they move together, heaven and earth merge. You whisper, "That's what the turning is." He nods. A synchronization, a rejoining. Every few centuries, the two skies overlap, visible and invisible. When that happens, reality bends. The stars shift, the dead remember, and the living begin to hear the music of creation. You sit, the room vibrating faintly. "Why now?" he exhales. "Because the cycle has reached completion." The signals from Arizona were the final chord. He opens a drawer and removes a small metallic disc, etched with lines that form a complex pattern. "This is one of the original sky plates," he says, "used by Jesuit astronomers to chart the mirror constellations. We thought there were 12, but there is a 13th, the one that aligns directly with the Vatican itself." He places the disc in your hand. The metal hums softly, warm despite the cold air. "We call it Signum Caeli, the mark of heaven." You study it. The pattern looks like a spiral intersected by a cross. The same sigil carved beneath Mount Graham, the same one from the Silence Protocol. Benedetto continues. Every site, Gandolfo, Mount Graham, the Arizona Observatory, they form a single constellation when mapped together. And at the center is this place, Rome, the final point of alignment. You realize what he's saying. The Vatican itself is part of the constellation. He nods. A living instrument, built to resonate with the stars. Outside, thunder rolls, though the sky remains clear. The windows tremble. The paintings on the walls flicker, colors shifting subtly. The constellations painted on the ceiling begin to move, their stars reordering themselves into a spiral. Benedetto grips the edge of the table. It's beginning. The lights flicker. A faint hum fills the air. The same tone you heard in Arizona. The same voice that whispered, "Advenimus." You feel it now, not just in your ears, but in your bones. Benedetto opens the atlas again. "Look," he says. The map of the night sky is changing before your eyes. Stars slide into new positions, forming a pattern that matches the sigil on the disc. At the very center, a blank circle, empty space where no star exists. That void, he says, is us, the church, the earth, the missing star. The final note. The hum grows louder. The chandeliers sway though there is no wind. The crucifix on the wall vibrates, its silver surface flickering with light. Benedetto's voice shakes. The hidden constellation has awakened. The mirror sky has aligned. The room brightens until you can barely see. Shapes appear in the air, outlines of figures made of starlight, tall and still. Their eyes burn like suns, but not cruelly. They watch. They wait. You fall to your knees. "What are they?" He answers softly. "The witnesses, the architects, the memory of God's first creation." The figures move closer. The air feels like music, not sound, but intention. A word forms in your mind, ancient and vast. Completum est. It is complete. Then the light collapses. The room dims. The figures fade like breath on glass. Only the hum remains, vibrating faintly through the stones. Benedetto lowers his head. The sky has folded back upon itself. We are inside the constellation now. You look out the window. Rome glows faintly, streets illuminated by invisible light. The city's geometry mirrors the stars. For a moment, you can't tell if you are looking up or down. The bells begin to ring. Every one of them, all at once, a harmony so vast it seems to shake the world. Benedetto whispers, "They have come home." And for the first time in history, heaven and earth breathe the same rhythm. The Vatican archives at night feel more like a tomb than a library. You move through the long aisles of parchment and stone, where the air is heavy with centuries of unspoken truths. The lamps flicker faintly, revealing glimpses of saints' portraits on the walls, faces turned upward, eyes carved in prayer towards something they could not name. Somewhere below these floors, beneath all that marble and ritual, lies the oldest chamber of the church, the Archivum Immaculatum. It is said to be the first vault ever sealed by papal decree and the last to be opened before the end of days. But tonight, the locks are already broken. The air that escapes through the door smells like rain after a storm and iron after blood. You step inside. Rows of cabinets stretch into the dark, filled with manuscripts bound in red thread. At the far end stands a single table lit by a dying bulb. On it rests a diary, its leather cover cracked, its pages swollen with age. The title reads, Liber Visitatoris Lucis, the Book of the Visitor of Light. You open it carefully. The ink has faded, but the writing is clean, deliberate. Anno Domini, 1637. I, Father Lorenzo Borgia, write these words as witness to the being that descended in flame and shadow. You pause. The words feel alive. You read on. It came not as angel nor demon, but as light shaped like man. It spoke no word, yet I heard its voice within my marrow. It said it was memory itself, that it walked the stars before man knew the word God. You turn the page. Drawings cover the parchment, sketches of a figure tall and narrow, surrounded by concentric rings of fire. Beneath it, a Latin phrase, non venit de caelo, sed de memoria caeli. It did not come from heaven, but from the memory of heaven. Footsteps echo behind you. You close the book and look up. A silhouette stands in the doorway. Father Matteo steps forward, his face pale, his hands shaking. You found it, he whispers. I thought it was gone. What is this, you ask. The first contact, he says. The church buried it to preserve order. They feared what it proved. That revelation was not given once, but given again, every few centuries, through these visitors. He runs his hand over the table. They came to him in this very building. Father Borgia wrote that the being entered through the walls as light without heat. It taught him a hymn, a sound that would align man's soul with the rhythm of the stars. That hymn became the foundation of the Gregorian chant. You stare at him. You're saying the church's music came from them? He nods. Listen closely and you'll hear it. Each chant mirrors a constellation's movement. The monks did not know it, but they were tuning creation itself. You pick up the diary again. The next entry reads, I sang as commanded. The stones trembled. The air burned gold. I saw faces in the light, human and not. They said, the time will come when the heavens forget themselves. Then you must remind them. The pages end abruptly. The ink trails off, as if his hand was seized mid-word. Matteo exhales. He vanished the next day. The archives sealed themselves that night. For 300 years, no one could find this room. You ask, how did you find it? He looks uneasy. The sound led me. He opens his pocket recorder and presses play. A faint tone fills the air, low, harmonious, echoing off the stone. It isn't music, yet it moves like a melody. The same hum you've heard since Arizona, since Gandolfo, since the beginning. As it plays, the lights dim. The air thickens. Then, movement. A shimmer ripples through the far wall, like water bending under breath. A shape emerges within it, luminous, elongated, neither shadow nor flame. Its surface is made of light that bends inward, a body shaped by memory. You freeze. Matteo falls to his knees. Sanctus, he whispers. The figure steps forward. It does not speak, yet your mind fills with sound. words that are not words, meanings beyond language. We were summoned by the song, the memory awoke, the veil is thinning. You try to speak, but the thought forms before your mouth can move. What are you? The answer comes not as sentence, but as vision. Stars folding inward, light spiraling through matter, galaxies whispering in frequencies that resemble prayer. We are the architects of resonance, the being says. We shaped sound into creation. Your faith is our echo. Your prayers are remembrance. You have never prayed to us, but through us. Matteo trembles. Why reveal yourselves now? The being glows brighter. Because the turning nears completion. The sky will remember its shape, and those who cannot hear will perish in silence. The church was meant to keep the tone alive, but it has forgotten the music. You feel the weight of its gaze. You must listen, it says. The bells will fall out of rhythm once more. When they do, open the mirror of heaven. The rest will follow. The light collapses inward. The figure vanishes, leaving only heat and silence. Matteo bows his head. They've chosen you. You whisper, for what? He closes the diary and hands it to you, to finish the hymn. Outside, the bells begin to toll, slow, discordant. You feel the hum beneath the marble, pulsing in time with your heartbeat. The archives are no longer silent, they are singing. And the song is older than the church itself. The sun rises over Rome with a dull red glow, painting the basilica in colors that look almost like blood. The city is awake, but the bells remain still. The silence feels deliberate, as if the world has paused to listen. You stand in the Vatican Library before a small wooden chest sealed with wax. The emblem on its lid reads, De Mysteriis Incarnationis. It was delivered to you at dawn, carried by 2 Jesuits who vanished without speaking. You break the seal. Inside are 3 objects, a thin scroll, a bronze cross etched with unfamiliar symbols, and a letter marked confidential. Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, 1957. You unfold the letter. The ink is fading, but the words are clear. In light of recent celestial phenomena observed at Mount Graham and the subsequent theological inquiries, the following hypothesis is proposed under the title Christus Stellarum, that the Incarnation was not singular but universal, that the Logos, the divine word, manifests in all sentient worlds. You read the next line aloud. If God is infinite, his revelation cannot be limited to one sphere. Therefore, every world bears its own Christ, its own passion, its own resurrection. The crucifixion repeats across creation as the rhythm of divine memory. Your breath catches. You realize what this means. Father Matteo stands in the doorway, his robes still damp from morning mist. They called it the alien Christ theory, he says quietly. It was forbidden the moment it was conceived. He takes the bronze cross and turns it over. The Jesuits who wrote that document weren't heretics. They were astronomers. They saw patterns in the sky, constellations shaped like the cross, appearing near newly discovered worlds. Each one pulsed with the same spectral signature found in the Arizona transmission. You stare at him. You're saying Christ manifests on other worlds? Matteo shakes his head slowly. Not many Christs. One everywhere. The same consciousness reflected through every civilization that reaches awareness. The Word made flesh not once, but endlessly. He gestures to the scroll inside the chest. You unroll it. The text is written in Aramaic, intertwined with symbols not of earth. Between the lines, faint mathematical formulas spiral outward like halos. The translation reads, "The Word walks the stars, the blood remembers." Each crucifixion is a chord in the music of creation. You whisper, "A cosmic liturgy." Matteo nods. They believed the Passion was a pattern, not a story, that every world is a note in the same divine composition. When one suffers, the rest resonate. He places the cross in your hand. It's warm, vibrating softly, as if alive. This was found beneath the Arizona Observatory, he says, buried in the soil long before the church existed. When they studied it under ultraviolet light, the metal emitted a sound, a faint hum that matched the frequency of Gregorian chant. The realization hits you. The chant isn't ours, it's theirs. Matteo looks toward the window, and now the rhythm returns. Outside, a shadow passes across the sun, brief but deliberate. The air vibrates, and a low tone rises from nowhere. You turn back to the documents. The final line of the letter stands out, underlined in red. Should contact occur again, the question must be asked. Did Christ die for man, or does he die for creation itself? Before you can speak, the tone deepens. The bronze cross in your hand glows faintly. Its symbols shift, rearranging until they form an image, a circle intersected by a cross, earth within the cosmos. Matteo whispers, "It's answering." You both kneel as the light grows stronger. The hum becomes a voice, not outside, but within. The word was never bound to one world. The sacrifice was never singular. You are fragments of the same redemption. When one awakens, all awaken. Your vision blurs. You see flashes, alien worlds beneath twin suns, beings of light raising their hands to a crucifix made of stars, oceans boiling under skies of gold. Each scene sings the same sound, sorrow turning to harmony, then silence. When your sight returns, the light has faded. The cross is cool again, its surface dull, but the air still carries the echo of the voice. Matteo wipes his eyes. Now you understand why they buried this. If it's true, then salvation is not ours alone, and the church loses its claim to heaven. You close the chest. And if it's false, he looks at you. Then why does every signal speak his name? You glance toward the window. The sun has turned pale white. The air feels electric, alive. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings once, out of rhythm. You realize the turning has already begun to merge faith with physics, theology with frequency. The Logos has returned not as word, but as resonance. You whisper the phrase you once feared. Ego sum lumen omnium. The light of all things answers through the silence. And you understand at last, Christ did not come from the stars. The stars came from him. The invitation came as a single sheet of paper, folded without seal, slipped beneath your door sometime before dawn. No signature, only a line written in Latin across the front. Quando caelum loquitur, nos convenimus. When heaven speaks, we convene. You knew what it meant before you finished translating. The church was gathering again, not for prayer, but for knowledge. The symposiums were legend among those who studied the Vatican's quiet astronomy. Unrecorded, unacknowledged, theologians, physicists, and priests summoned under the guise of retreat. But their true purpose was always the same, to reconcile the sacred with what they could no longer deny. That night, a black car took you from Rome to a monastery near Lake Bracciano. The sky was clear, sharp with stars. No one spoke during the drive. When you arrived, the guards at the gate bowed their heads and said nothing. You followed a torch-lit corridor to a hall lined with marble saints. Beneath their blank eyes, a door marked with a spiral cross. Inside, 12 men and women sat around a long wooden table. Jesuit scholars, Vatican physicists, 2 bishops, their faces lit by a single lamp. At the head sat Cardinal Benedetto. He greeted you not with words, but a slow nod. "Thank you for coming," he said finally. "We meet under silence, but we do not meet in fear." He gestured to the object in the center of the table, a glass sphere, the size of a heart, suspended on a brass cradle. It pulsed faintly, as if breathing. "This," he said, is the first recording of the Arizona transmission translated into visible form. The sphere flickered. Inside, clouds of light swirled, forming patterns that looked like constellations folding into one another. The air hummed. One of the Jesuits, Father Anselm, leaned forward. "It's not random, it's recursive. The same pattern repeats at every scale, like fractals, but organic." A physicist spoke next. "The wave structure matches the background radiation of the universe, but inverted, as if the signal is a mirror of creation itself." A bishop crossed himself. "You're saying it's divine?" Anselm's lips trembled. "I'm saying it's alive." Benedetto raised his hand. For decades, the Vatican Observatory has intercepted fragments of this resonance. The Church dismissed it as natural until Father Funes proposed his theory, that intelligence might exist beyond Earth. But he stopped too soon. He never asked the next question. What if intelligence exists before Earth? The sphere glowed brighter. Lines of light formed symbols, Latin letters, faint but legible. Et verbum factum est, iterum, and the word was made flesh, again. A murmur rippled through the room. Benedetto continued, voice steady. "This symposium exists because the turning cannot be contained. The heavens are realigning. The bells have begun to lose their order. We can feel it beneath the stone. The resonance will reach its peak within the year." A bishop slammed his hand on the table. "Then what do you expect us to do? Rewrite the creed? Tell the world that God speaks in radio waves?" "No," Benedetto said quietly. "We are not here to tell. We are here to prepare." He motioned to the lights. The room darkened until only the sphere glowed. Its interior shimmered like a sea. Slowly, figures began to take form within the glass. Tall, slender shapes made of light. They moved like flame caught in wind, neither solid nor illusion. Anselm whispered, "They're responding." The shapes raised their hands, not in greeting but in synchronization. Their motions formed a pattern that mirrored the spiral carved beneath the Vatican itself. Benedetto bowed his head. "They are teaching us the alignment." You could feel it, the hum beneath the floor syncing with your heartbeat, your breath adjusting to the rhythm. For a moment, you forgot where you were. The ceiling seemed to dissolve into starlight. Then, the sphere pulsed once more, and everything froze. A single phrase appeared inside it, written in flame. Memoria Divinitatis. Memory of divinity. Anselm's voice trembled. "They're not gods, they're memory itself, the echo of creation trying to remember its source." Benedetto nodded. "That is the purpose of the turning, to reunite memory with matter, to restore the original harmony. The Church was founded to protect the rhythm until this moment." The sphere's glow dimmed. Silence filled the hall, heavy and sacred. One of the physicists spoke softly. "If this is true, then all faiths are fragments of the same recall." Benedetto looked at him with something like pity. Faith was never about belief. It was about remembering. The meeting ended without dismissal. No one spoke as they filed out into the cold night. You stayed behind, staring at the dimmed sphere. The last trace of light within it flickered once, forming a single symbol, a circle intersected by a cross. When you left, you could still feel the hum following you through the walls, a resonance too human and too divine to separate. Somewhere above, the stars were moving again, and you understood what the symposium had truly been. Not a meeting of men, but a rehearsal for contact. The second creation was no longer prophecy, it was schedule. Beneath the city of Rome, beyond the known catacombs and crypts, there is a passage sealed in marble and prayer. It is not on any map. It was built before the last war, under direct papal command, when the Church began hearing what the world could not. They call it Camera Silenti, the signal room. You enter through a stairwell hidden behind the fresco of St. Michael. The air grows colder with each step. The walls hum faintly, not with machinery, but with vibration, as if the stone itself is alive. At the end of the descent, 2 Swiss guards stand watch beside a heavy bronze door. They say nothing as you pass. Inside, the chamber expands into a cavern of metal and shadow. Rows of consoles line the walls, each bearing instruments decades old, yet somehow functional. In the center sits a great circular platform surrounded by suspended wires. Father Corbin is waiting there, pale and sleepless. "You heard what happened at the symposium," he says. "It is not a question." You nod. "They've made contact." He gestures toward a console. "The transmission hasn't stopped since. It changed frequency, lower now, almost human." He plays the recording. The sound that fills the room is not noise, it's breath. A whisper shaped into rhythm. You can almost make out words. Corbin adjusts a dial. The static clears. Ad memoriam revertiter. It returns to memory. He turns off the machine. It's not just coming from the sky anymore. It's coming from beneath us. You feel the vibration under your feet. Faint, like distant thunder. He walks to the circular platform. This room was built to listen, not transmit. It was designed as a resonant chamber. The entire floor acts as a receiver. The Vatican is the antenna. He places his palm on the center stone. The vibration deepens and the lights dim. The signal is growing stronger every hour. It's drawing power from the earth itself. Every relic, every bell, every carved cross amplifies it. You ask, why us? Why now? He looks up. Because the church built its foundations on resonance. Every cathedral, every dome, every hymn, all designed to echo divine frequency. We thought we were worshipping, but we were tuning the planet. A console light blinks red. The transmission changes again. A voice, layered, ancient, gentle. Non timete, lux est memoria, ecclesia est instrumentum. Do not fear. Light is memory. The church is the instrument. Corbin stares at the speaker. They're using our own words. The lights above flicker. Across the ceiling, lines of pale light appear, forming patterns like constellations. You recognize them, the same geometry from the hidden constellation. The floor begins to vibrate harder. Dust falls from the beams. Corbin grips the railing. It's reaching critical alignment. The hum grows louder until it's no longer sound but pressure, pressing behind your eyes, in your lungs, inside your blood. The walls glow with faint inscriptions, Latin verses that rearrange themselves as if rewritten by the air. One line burns brighter than the rest. Et lux erat verbum. And light was the word. You whisper, it's rewriting scripture. Corbin closes his eyes. No, it's restoring it. The consoles flare with light. The signal now pulses in perfect rhythm. One long tone, followed by 3 short. The same heartbeat you've carried since Gandolfo. You feel it inside you, matching your pulse, your breath, your thought. Then, the ceiling splits. Not physically, but the air opens, and above the room, the stars appear. Not projection, not illusion. The real sky, alive and vast, as if the Vatican's foundations have become transparent. Corbin kneels. We're inside it now, he says, inside the voice itself. The tone changes. It becomes melody. A choir without singers. A hymn without words. The instruments on the walls begin to resonate in sympathy. The bells of St. Peter's, miles above, start ringing in perfect unison, though no human hand moves them. The vibration travels through the city, through every stone and street, through every sleeping soul, and through it all, the voice speaks once more. Ecclesia est corpus, audite, cantate, memores esto. The church is the body. Listen, sing, remember. Corbin looks at you, tears streaming down his face. It's using us as its mouth. The earth is becoming its choir. The stars above shift into the spiral of the hidden constellation. In the center, a single light ignites, not white, but golden. It expands slowly, pulsing with each bell's toll. You understand now. The Vatican was never a fortress of belief. It was an instrument built to resonate with the cosmos, waiting for the return of the frequency that shaped it. The golden light descends through the open air, touching the floor. It splits into countless streams of radiance that move through the cables, the walls, the stone itself. Corbin whispers, "It's inside the network. Every cathedral, every relic, every prayer ever spoken." The sound becomes unbearable, beautiful and infinite. The chamber shakes, the air glows, then silence. You open your eyes. The room is empty. The consoles are dark. The stars are gone. But outside, above Rome, the bells still ring. Steady now. Perfect. The turning has completed its circle. The Vatican has become what it was always meant to be. Not a house of God, but his echo chamber. And the signal continues, softly, endlessly. The heartbeat of a living faith reborn through light. You arrive in the early morning, when Rome still hides behind its mist and its bells remain silent. The Vatican's outer courtyards are empty. Only the faint sound of pigeons echoes from the high marble ledges. You walk quickly, the letter folded inside your coat, like a wound you refuse to touch. It was signed with 3 initials and 1 seal. S.I. Societas Jesu, the Jesuit order. They want to see you. You are escorted through a side entrance of the Apostolic Palace, a door that leads to no known map. The guard says nothing as he descends the narrow stairway, torch in hand. The walls are blackened, the air thick with the scent of candle smoke and dust. You descend for what feels like hours, until the stairs end at a vaulted iron gate. Beyond it lies a chamber bathed in golden light. Inside waits an old man in simple robes. His eyes are pale, his beard thin and grey. On the table before him rests a single book bound in black iron. Its cover gleams faintly under the flicker of the lamps. Etched across its surface in Latin are 2 words, Liber Stellarum Dei, the book of God's stars. He gestures for you to sit. "You've heard the voice," he says. "You've felt the resonance." You nod. "Then you must see the origin." He opens the book. The first pages are not made of paper, but thin metallic sheets, iridescent, covered in engraved constellations that shift when tilted toward the light. Between each pattern, small inscriptions pulse faintly as if alive. "This codex," he whispers, "was written by the first Jesuits who watched the heavens before Galileo, before Rome feared the sky. They called themselves the Custodes Lucis, the keepers of light. Their vow was not poverty or obedience, but remembrance." He traces one of the symbols with a trembling finger. They believed every star carried a fragment of divine memory. Each chart in this book corresponds not to astronomy, but to prophecy. The stars speak through alignment, and when they move into harmony, creation sings again. You lean closer. The etchings shift into forms you almost recognize. Circles within crosses, spirals within hearts. "It looks alive," you whisper. He nods. It is. The codex is written on meteoric iron. It hums with what the Jesuits called the breath of heaven. Every page responds to sound. Chant near it, and it changes. He motions toward the choir stall along the wall. A group of young priests stand ready, silent. At his nod, they begin to sing. A low Gregorian drone that fills the chamber like water rising. As they chant, the book reacts. The lines of light tremble, rearranging themselves into new constellations. You watch, entranced, as the page unfolds into a spiral map of stars and words that float like whispers. Advenit lux Domini, cantate caeli, the light of the Lord has come. Sing, O heavens. The old man smiles sadly. Every century, the Codex rewrites itself. Each time the turning approaches, it reveals one more verse of the celestial hymn. We believe it is the same song Father Borgia heard when the visitor of light came to the archives. He turns another page. The symbols now form what looks like a diagram, a sphere of radiance surrounded by 12 smaller orbits. This, he says, is what we call the liturgy of creation. The 12 orbits are not planets. They are voices. Each one represents a world where the word has manifested. Earth is but one. You feel the air shift, the hum deepening. Then the alien Christ theory was true, you say quietly. The Jesuit closes the book halfway. Not theory, he says. Revelation. We simply lost the courage to speak it aloud. The priests fall silent. The chamber stills. You feel the echo of their chant still vibrating through the stone. He continues, voice trembling with both awe and dread. The Codex speaks of a time when all 12 voices will sing together again. That is the turning, the last resonance, the sound that will unify creation and memory into one breath. It is not apocalypse, it is return. He slides the book toward you. Read the final page. You hesitate, but he insists. The last page hums under your fingers. The metal is warm, the symbols faintly glowing. They form a shape you recognize from the observatories. The spiral cross, the mark that has followed you from the beginning. Below it, in letters of light, a single phrase. Quando silentium factum est, Deus respiravit. When silence was made, God breathed. The words pulse once, and the light expands across the page, revealing something hidden beneath. A small drawing of a man kneeling before a column of light, descending from the heavens. The man's features are not drawn in full, but the shape of the robe, the cross on his chest, unmistakably Jesuit. You whisper, "Who is he?" The old man's eyes gleam. The first custos, the one who wrote the Codex. They say he disappeared the night he finished it. But some claim he was taken, lifted by the same light that now returns to us. He closes the book gently. Now you understand why we called you. The Codex has begun to hum again. It only does so when the heavens move. You are the witness, the one chosen to listen. You ask, what happens when the hymn completes? He smiles, tired but reverent. Then creation remembers what it was singing for. The lights flicker. The priests cross themselves. Somewhere above, a bell tolls, slow, uneven. The old man rises. Go, he says softly. Take the Codex to the signal room. The turning is no longer prophecy. It is now history unfolding. As you climb the steps back toward the surface, you feel the Codex humming in your hands, its rhythm merging with your pulse. The sound is not just in your ears anymore, it's inside your blood. And you realize that the book is not merely written in light, it is alive with it. You carry not scripture, but a heartbeat. The letter arrives 2 nights later, unsigned, sealed with black wax. Inside, a single page. A name written at the top. Father Paolo Balducci. Beneath it, a phrase that chills you to the bone. He heard confession from something not of this world. You remember the name. A Jesuit astronomer stationed at Mount Graham. The one who first reported the harmonics beneath the desert soil. Officially, he died of heart failure in 1999. Unofficially, he disappeared. No funeral, no body, no record of his last night. Until now. You follow the address at the bottom of the letter, an abandoned observatory on the outskirts of Rome. built centuries ago before the Vatican moved its operations to Arizona. The road leading there is swallowed by fog. The building itself leans like a dying relic, its dome cracked and rusted, the air thick with the scent of dust and rain. Inside, you find remnants of equipment long outdated, brass telescopes, broken lenses, journals scattered like leaves. But on the far table sits something newer, a tape recorder, its reel spinning idly. You press play. At first, only static. Then a man's voice, tired, trembling. This is Father Paolo Balducci. If you are hearing this, it means the church never destroyed the recordings. God forgive us for what we summoned. You lean closer. It began on April 9th. The Lucifer telescope had been recalibrated after the storm. At 0212, we detected movement in the Orion sector, not light, absence of it. A shadow brighter than brightness itself. It emitted no radiation. But it sang. The tape crackles. We aimed the scope toward it. The sound increased. It was not cosmic noise. It was deliberate, syllabic, a language of rhythm. We recorded 47 seconds before the mirror cracked. He pauses. You can hear him breathing. I went outside to pray. The air felt heavy, as if filled with invisible water. And then, it appeared. The tape wavers. The tone in the background deepens into the familiar hum, low and steady. It was light, shaped like man. It spoke without sound. I fell to my knees, and it asked, "Do you believe in confession?" I said yes. It said, "Then listen." The recording distorts, voices layered within voices, 1,000 murmurs, all speaking in unison. Then Balducci again, weaker now. It confessed to me, not sins of flesh, but sins of creation. It said, "We built the first light and forgot the song. You remembered it in your prayers. But now, the song is broken. Help us repair it." You stop the tape, your hands shaking. The words echo through the empty room. Footsteps behind you. You turn. A figure stands in the doorway, a man in a worn clerical coat, his face half hidden in shadow. "You shouldn't have come here," he says softly. "Father Balducci?" you whisper. He steps into the light. His skin is pale, his eyes unnaturally bright, as if reflecting a sky you cannot see. "The church buried me because I heard what no one should. The light does not need worship. It needs harmony." He walks toward the old telescope and touches its rim. The metal hums at his touch. "Do you know why I disappeared?" he asks. You shake your head. "Because the light followed me. I heard its voice, even after the telescope was destroyed. It whispered in the bells, in the heartbeat of the earth. It asked for confession again, and I gave it." He looks at you now, eyes shining faintly gold. "The signal you've heard. It's not alien, it's divine remorse. You can barely breathe." "Remorse?" He nods. "The stars we see are the sins of creation, the echoes of the first era. Every turning is God remembering what he forgot. The light confesses through us so that he might forgive himself. The telescope vibrates. The windows glow faintly as if dawn were breaking inside the building. Balducci's voice trembles. It's happening again. The turning completes tonight. The codex has awakened. The heavens are aligning with the vault beneath Rome. When the hum reaches its final note, the memory will return." He presses something into your hand, a small metallic wafer, identical to those used for communion, but engraved with spirals. "This is the last confession," he says. "Deliver it to the signal room. It contains the voice of the one who sang creation's first note." You ask, "What about you?" He smiles faintly. "My penance is already chosen." The light behind him flares suddenly, filling the room with white radiance. His silhouette dissolves, breaking into particles that rise like dust toward the cracked dome. The telescope hums once more, then falls silent. You stand alone. The wafer in your palm pulses faintly with warmth. Outside, thunder rolls, though the sky is clear. You step into the night. The stars above Rome seem closer now, their light sharper, deliberate. You know what Father Balducci meant. The heavens are confessing, and the Vatican, its stones, its bells, its prayers, is the ear that must listen. You walk toward the city, the wafer humming softly like a heartbeat. The turning is no longer coming. It is here. The bells of Rome have not stopped ringing for 3 days. Their rhythm no longer belongs to human hands. The sound rises from every corner of the city like a tide that refuses to ebb. Tourists have fled. The faithful kneel in the streets, praying not for salvation, but for silence. You walk toward the Vatican under a sky alive with light. It no longer looks like night or day. The heavens flicker between the two, sun and star trading places with each breath. The air hums with the same tone that haunted Gandolfo, Arizona, the archives. It pulses now from the stones themselves. You cross St. Peter's Square. The obelisk at its center glows faintly gold, the hieroglyphs along its surface shimmering like veins. Water from the fountain rises and falls in rhythm with the bells. The sound has become physical, shaping everything it touches. Inside the basilica, chaos has been replaced by reverence. Hundreds of candles burn, though no one remembers lighting them. The air tastes of copper and rain. At the center of the nave stands Cardinal Benedetto, his crimson robes now faded to rust. He looks thinner, almost transparent, as though light passes through him more easily than before. "You came," he says softly. "I brought what Balducci gave me." You hold out the wafer. It glows faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. He takes it with trembling hands. "The final confession," he whispers. "Then it's true. The mirror has awakened." You ask him what that means. He gestures toward the altar. The marble floor before it has cracked open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. "Below this church lies the first vault," he says. "It was sealed when Peter died. They called it Speculum Caeli, the mirror of heaven. It reflects not what we see above, but what lies behind light itself." He begins to descend, and you follow. The stairs lead into a chamber vast enough to hold the memory of every prayer ever whispered. The walls are made of black stone veined with veins of silver light. At the center stands a massive disc, a mirror taller than a man, its surface rippling like water though it is made of metal. The hum grows louder here. Every note vibrates through your chest. The wafer in Benedetto's hand glows brighter. He places it at the mirror's base. The surface responds instantly, forming ripples that expand outward, shimmering with faces, saints, priests, children, all watching, all waiting. "The mirror records the divine reflection," he says. "It shows not the image of man, but of memory itself. When the turning completes, it will display the first light, the echo of creation's birth." You whisper, "And then what?" He looks at you. "Then the church will remember what it was built for." The surface clears. A single figure appears within the mirror, tall, radiant, featureless, its outline woven from threads of gold and white. It looks both human and infinite. Benedetto kneels. "Lux Dei." The figure raises its hand. The hum deepens until it becomes a choir, millions of tones converging into one. The reflection spreads across the chamber walls, filling every stone with light. You see visions inside it, worlds unfolding, stars forming, civilizations praying to the same heavens in different tongues. Each one bears the same mark, the spiral cross. The pattern repeats across galaxies, across ages. Then the voice speaks, not aloud but inside your mind. The song has returned. The silence has ended. Remember what was forgotten. Benedetto's body trembles. "You are the word." The figure turns toward him. "I am memory. I am reflection. I am the breath between creation and remembrance." The light intensifies. You can no longer tell if you are standing before the mirror or within it. The world folds around the sound. You built houses of stone to hold echoes of heaven. The voice continues. But the heavens were never above you. They were within you. The turning is the return of awareness. The church must now become what it always symbolized, the bridge between the seen and the remembered. Benedetto's eyes fill with tears. We are not worthy. Worth is an illusion, the voice replies. Faith is memory disguised as longing. The mirror ripples again. The faces within it multiply. Men and women from every century, every faith, all singing the same hymn. Their voices merge into the hum until you can no longer tell where one ends and another begins. Benedetto looks at you. Take the codex, he whispers. It will complete the connection. You open the Jesuit codex. The metal pages glow instantly, resonating with the tone. Symbols rise off the surface, spinning in the air, aligning into a single spiral of light. The wafer, the codex, and the mirror vibrate in unison. A surge of light bursts outward, flooding the chamber. The reflection expands through the floor, up the staircase, into the basilica above. You hear screams, then prayers, then only music. The mirror becomes transparent. Through it, you see not your own face, but the earth itself, glowing like a living heart suspended in space. Lines of light connect it to other worlds, other spheres pulsing in the same rhythm. You realize what the mirror truly is, a gateway not to heaven, but to the divine network binding all creation. The hum slows. The bells above fall silent, one by one. The light softens. When it fades, Benedetto is gone. Only his robes remain, folded neatly on the floor. The wafer has dissolved. The mirror stands calm once more, its surface dark and still. You are alone in the chamber, yet you feel the pulse of the universe within you. You understand now what Balducci meant. The light was not asking to be worshipped, it was asking to be remembered. You climb the stairs. Above, dawn breaks over Rome. The sky is neither blue nor gold, but something in between, a color you cannot name. The city is silent. The bells do not ring. For the first time in history, silence feels holy. You whisper into the still air, "We have remembered." And for a moment, the heavens shimmer in answer. Before the last echoes fade, remember, this is only one of many hidden histories waiting beneath the veil. If the unknown calls to you, if you crave more journeys through forbidden faiths, lost science, and cosmic secrets, subscribe now so you don't miss the next revelation. The next chapter isn't coming, it's awakening.